In life, success doesn't come easily, and it's not for people who give up easily. To achieve great things, you must have an intense desire, a flame that never goes out in your heart, pushing you forward in spite of all difficulties. Imagine yourself as an unceasing warrior longing for victory, never retreating before any challenge. Life won't always be good, but it's perseverance and determination that will help you overcome all the thorns. I would like to discuss hunger with you this evening.
I'm hungry, remarked someone. Yes, it is something. I would like to talk to you about a few ideas and opinions. It's not a request that you take my word for it. It is not necessary for you to concur with me. All I'm asking is that you stand up so we can put an end to our chat this evening. And I advise you to make use of anything I've spoken if it suits and functions for you. If not, throw it away and leave it alone. Is that acceptable? Well, that makes sense. Excellent. Fine. One thing that I and many others have discovered is that achieving our goals in life, whether they be to change who we are, acquire something, or live out our dreams, is actually not as simple as it may seem. There are those who would have us believe that it is difficult to break bad habits, change our ways, or live the life of our dreams. Living alone is just really hard sometimes, and life becomes really difficult if we start to accept the idea that living is hard. I once heard a song called "If It Ain't One Thing, It's Another" by a guy by the name of Dipples. If it's not one thing, it's 12 others, as I put it to you. Something is always going on. You will never ever live a life without problems. It was mentioned, and I agree with it, and you either hit it toward a problem, enter one, or simply leave one. Did anyone else think that was incredibly racist? If you understand what I mean, Hannah, there's always something after all. How then can we start feeding that hunger? What traits or attributes do those who are hungry possess? What would it take for me to satisfy my hunger and obtain some of the things I desire? First and foremost, you need to improve yourself. It is imperative that you participate in a continuous process of development. You dedicate more time to yourself than you have been doing. It's critical. You owe yourselves that. I was reading The University of Reed, a novel written by O.G. Mandino. I got a chill from one line. There was nothing more in the book that I needed to read. Many of us, he remarked, never see our grandeur because we get distracted by unimportant things. We overextend ourselves and lack the ability to say no. And we discover that despite our busy schedules, we never ever have time to accomplish the things we need to do to improve ourselves. Then another one goes by, another second has passed, another second has passed, nor are we able to pause and stop time. And before you know it, you're behind on your payments and your dream when you wake up one day. You are producing your own creation, so make the decision to dedicate some time to improving yourself. You deserve that from yourself, and your life merits some special attention. You are the star of your own show, in the words of Michael Todd. The director is you. The screenplay is being written by you. And it's up to you to decide if your life is a commercial success or a failure. You make that determination. It's crucial that you talk to yourself and work on yourself, conquering the negative talk, the internal chatter that persists constantly even when you don't want it to. Right now, you cannot stop believing that you are incapable of succeeding. It's still happening. Thus, confronting yourself is a necessary step in developing self-empowerment. There are moments when you have to tell yourself to shut up. This has to be done by you. I had a voice in my head telling me I couldn't do this as I was about to do a presentation. You lack some necessary components. I stopped talking. You're telling me I can't do something because I'm behind on my bills, but I have to do it. You will occasionally feel afraid. You'll lose all mental clarity. You will let certain people make you feel uneasy. You may ask yourself, what's wrong with me? I'm not deranged. For this reason, you must learn to stand up inside of yourself with intention, deliberation, and determination. Observing your internal dialogue and working on yourself, it will decide how good your life is going to be. I find this to be untrue. I am aware of this. Losing weight has been a difficulty for me. I stroll around the airport. Why don't you have some M&M peanuts, this voice asks? No. All right, then only one. Following your consumption of that. You sucker, you might as well get a sticker now. Really, it's difficult. My mom prepared a type of sweet potato pie that is unsuitable for eating while wearing shoes. You must remove your shoes in order to allow your toes to wiggle. My fingers are covered in it.
Eat it, it says. It won't hurt to take a tiny taste. That voice all the time. Colonel Sanders' little demons. I had to tell myself, no, I'll diet tomorrow, while I was driving there. I watched a truck hit a skinny man. Some of you are aware of the area where he might have lived if he had had a little bit more. If not, raise your head. That voice is incredible. Therefore, you must get up. Pay attention to that voice. It is imperative that you ignore that voice when working toward your goals. Every day you have to sell yourself on your skills, your work, and the outcome you hope to achieve. Every day, no matter how much belief you have, you must sell yourself because it will show in the things that you do. Everything we now possess and the way we live our lives is a reflection of the subliminal beliefs we hold about ourselves. You have to persuade yourself every day in order to raise your belief level. You must market yourself. I've heard all kinds of guys conducting tactics and teaching people ways of how to close sales, how to deal with and begin to manage the sale, and how to ask for the close. I hold sales seminars and do a lot of corporate training. Allow me to present to you something. Any technique in the world may be learned. It won't happen for you if you don't have confidence in yourself. I gained complete knowledge of it. I do a program called Focus on the Seller because of this. You must put yourself first. And as you persuade yourself and market yourself daily, you'll start to notice changes in the things you're doing. Selling yourself every day, believing that you can accomplish a task or reach a goal, and telling yourself, here I go again. I have what it takes too. Nothing in this world will stop me on this day. And life says, come over here when you go out there. Repeat it. I promise to return tomorrow. This leads me to my next point. It takes guts to show signs of hunger. It takes bravery to pick yourself back up after failure. I used to work with a friend of mine to conduct door-to-door sales. Furthermore, door-to-door sales are, painful. It's an unusually harsh punishment. And I was the young child rapping on the door. Hi, are you interested in purchasing a good functional television set? No deposit, no big bang. The door was slammed in your face. And they slammed the door in the face of my friend who was working with me. I turned around to see him heading toward the car. I can't do this, he said. You go ahead, I'll be here when you get back, he replied as he sat down in the car. He had a mother and a father to look after him now. Mom was not well. I was taken in by adoption. I was famished. I had to continue. Someone told me that Winston Churchill once remarked that you should face your worries head on. This taught me something about myself. According to him, bravery is the ability to bounce back from setbacks without losing motivation. Something occurs to you when you face your worries head on and keep pushing through them. It will allow you to go beyond who you are. Next door was where I went. Do you enjoy purchasing a good workstation? No, Mama. On to the subsequent one. No, Mama. I stopped taking it personally after a while and started playing a game. I told them that I knew there had to be a yes somewhere and that I would not be returning home until I found it. And I kept pounding on doors. Eventually, though, someone would say yes. Are you sure? I asked. And I would enter there in order to obtain the sales. If you have a desire to do something but lack the guts to follow through on what you have been given and instead spend a lot of time trying to convince others or win their approval, you will eventually lose your nerve, give up on your dream, and allow others to persuade you that what you are doing is worthless. It's a fascinating aspect of existence. Additionally, I've discovered that life will go on from you if you don't always have the bravery to take action, especially if you have something important to accomplish. My career as a disc jockey would not change if it weren't for life. I did not simply up and go to the state legislature. I lost my job. One day after working on a job, I returned home. I told my ex-wife that the mailbird I worked for was foolish when I was still married. Why does he sign your paycheck if he's so dumb? She asked. You understand why I got a divorce from her now? That night I couldn't stand her. I had trouble falling asleep. This was the guy in charge of my life. Because this guy was in charge of my salary, I was going through a lot of adjustments. The statement, truth crushed to earth shall rise again, was made by Carlyle. As Winston Churchill once stated, there is no disputing the truth. It may be attacked by hatred or mocked by ignorance, but ultimately it still exists. Scripture also tells us that when we know the truth, it will set us free. And the fact that I didn't control my fate was something I had to accept. In actuality, I wasn't giving it everything I had. The fact is that I had a few things I wanted to do, but I lacked the bravery to follow through on them. In actuality, Bert Hills was a godsend to me. He was the reason my life was so awful. I had to adopt a new perspective on my life. I arrived at work earlier. I became the final person to exit that place. I began to put forth more effort than everybody else. Not the other guys. Les, why would you put in so much work? I'm not working for them, I declared. I realized that I had been deceiving Bert. I have been deceiving both my family and myself. Put everything you have into whatever you're doing, wherever you are. Make it a habit to provide more than you're compensated for. Make it a practice to establish benchmarks that people will use to judge you. It was once advised to go where there is no route and leave a trail rather than where the path may lead. Fine. Today, it's simple to be pessimistic. These days, it's simple to feel down. While I worked for a corporation, they were going through a downsizing process and planned to fire about 1,500 employees in the next few weeks. That place is really gloomy. 9 times out of 10, the individuals who remain there will only take minimal action to avoid being let go. That is something that anyone can do. But if you can start to take control of your life and decide that in this situation, you are going to give it your all, because that is how you represent who you are. Being merely mediocre will become ingrained in your mind if you make it your habit. If you develop the habit of providing less than you're capable of giving, it will start to manifest again in your personality. It will start to harm your mental state. Furthermore, you don't want to participate in such self-destructive activity. You therefore want to hold yourself to a high level. The following step, which satisfies some of that appetite, is to cultivate a sense of urgency. Stop acting as though you only have 1,000 years left to live, Aurelia advised. Either you're here today or you're not. Try doing a small portion of whatever you want to do if you can't finish it fully at once. What Robert Schuller says is appealing. By the yard it's hard, he replied. But inch by inch everything is easy. Try it to a small extent. Bobby Kerr, a buddy of mine, was formerly my roommate. Bobby's career goal was to work in public relations. He enjoyed working with Clarice, the well-known young woman he aspired to marry. Bobby was a master at putting things off. Bobby was quickly moved from his place of employment to another one. He went to the new employment site to celebrate with the locals. And Bobby passed away after having a severe heart attack. Bobby was under 40, never smoked, and never drank before passing away. Pose a query to you. What is the remaining amount of time? When you think about that, how much time will you have left? We're not sure. Bobby carried with him all of his greatness, talent, and abilities to his death. He had one more option to place something in parenthesis beneath his name. Not everything he owned was used, and that's what most of us do. The majority of us do not make use of the items we have brought into the world. And we want to start living with a sense of urgency, making the most of what we have, exhausting ourselves, and sharing what we brought into the world to offer. We want to do this consciously, deliberately, and resolutely, because nobody else will if we don't. Quit wasting time, since you know that if we start living as though every day were our last, our lives will take off, gaining a whole new meaning and expression as we cherish every second we are given before the next item satisfies our hunger. Respect yourself as you have said. Give your message with conviction. It speaks volumes about you when you make a commitment and then break it. If you choose to uphold your own sense of integrity, I promise to live up to my words. I am that way. I'll also exercise extreme caution while extending my word to other people. Most importantly, I want my life to be a reflection of my words, honoring who I am and what I say. So I make pledges to myself, learning the art of becoming single-minded, learning how to concentrate, and learning how to focus is another difficult area when it comes to feeding and creating that hunger in yourself. You'll be astounded by what you can accomplish after you learn to shut off the outside world and maintain your focus. You'll be astounded by the insights that come to you, the people you can draw in, and the opportunities you can recognize. You'll start to notice things that have been staring you in the face for a while, like this habit of mine, or I can't believe it's been here for so long. It might be useful to you in some way. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I write down all of the fantastic thoughts I have for today that will help me grow as a person and accomplish my objective. And I just let my thoughts wander. I occasionally write 15, 20 ideas. It's harder some days than it is others. One notion. Your life can be changed by one concept. Making the decision to concentrate on improving your skills can completely change your life. A baseball team that played in the league cellar has a new owner who was a guy when he assumed control. "What is your best throat?" he asked the pitcher as he approached him. "Well, I got a good fastball and a good curveball," he remarked. He continued discussing his various throws after that. "But tell me, what is your finest throw?" he said. He paused to reflect. "I have a good fastball," he declared. "That's all I want you to focus on," he said. "Nothing more. Simply work on your fastball." They attended the World Series the next year. Most people are unaware of their fastball location. The majority of people never identify their skills throughout their lives. Most people never pursue their artistic goals. They possess skills and abilities, but they will never be of use to you if you don't cultivate and nurture them. If you develop your gifts, you can go far with them. The majority of us dislike doing the things that are naturally easy for us. I've always had a great passion for small conversation. I choose to follow this advice in order to improve my speaking abilities, and my talent has grown and grown, taking me to many other places. You have something to offer the world. And if you think that my life is worth developing this, what I do well, becoming the best at it, mastering myself and realizing my potential, then that is okay. You will never be without it if you choose to stop where you are and focus on developing your gifts. I promise that the places your gifts will take you will actually astound you. I promise you that you will have a deep sense of enjoyment if you start working to develop your skills. You'll see yourself in a more expansive light. As a first step toward developing a more comprehensive self-image, each of us requires a certain area of our lives in which we may feel competent enough for others to recognize us when they consider this area. It is something you eat. It is something you sleep on. It is something you do. People are aware of it, as are you. And you are aware that you are aware of this. You already know this if you don't know anything else. Is it possible to tell? Yes, I am aware. I'm skilled at what I do. Well, hi there, you are aware of this. Thus, you must put effort into it. You have to have the fortitude to focus, read, and process information when other people are having a wonderful time. If, over the course of 5 years, you decide to study one book per month in any particular area of significance for yourself, you will rank among the top 5% of experts worldwide in that field. I try to read 2 novels a week at the latest. A year, the average American reads just 1 book. You will always be in charge of your destiny if you choose to focus on your passion and master it. In this age of rapid change, overwhelming complexity, and fierce competition, you can do this by starting to develop and expand your talents, skills, and self-image. The next thing is that you want to pursue your goals with great vigor. My friend informed me that his sales had decreased. I asked, "How many calls do you make in a day?" 25, he said. "Double them," I said. "Produce 50, 75, or 100. "Oh man, that's just too much," he exclaimed. "By too much, what do you mean? You're chatting too much and you're behind on your bills. You know, missing 2 car payments is a surefire way to get back on your feet quickly. You are discussing your time. This is not a place for competitiveness. Make the decision to challenge yourself. The majority won't act in that way. Most people are quick to give up on themselves. The human spirit is strong, you know." Nothing is as strong as this. It is difficult to extinguish the human spirit. "How did you do it?" they asked Benjamin Disraeli, who rose to become the nation's leader during a period when Jews were forbidden from leaving their homes after 10 o'clock. "How do you succeed when the odds are so high?" Nothing, he claimed, can stand against the will of a people who will bet even their very existence on the realization of their altruistic goals. That moment when you make up your mind and decide you want to take action. "The other day I was reading something. The ability to persevere," he remarked, "to hold on in the face of everything. This is the attribute of the victor, the hunger and the willpower to keep trying despite constant failure. This characteristic makes a winner. That's a characteristic you possess. You can ignore the facts when you're hungry. The odds don't matter to you." Doug Williams was a quarterback for the Denver Broncos and Washington Redskins who made it to the Super Bowl. Elway was on everyone's lips. I asked Doug Williams, "How were you able, in spite of all of that negative publicity saying that you couldn't win?" after he made a historic passing play during the Super Bowl. How were you able to do that? I disregarded my criticism, he said. To put it simply, I ignored them. I choose to ignore myself because they were repeating it so frequently. There were moments when I questioned my ability to complete the tasks at hand. Doug Williams is here, along with everyone else. You have the potential to be great. All you need to do is learn to silence the inner and external critics. And since I'm going to do this, I'm going to use all of my strength and willpower to overcome any obstacles in my way. This is something I deserve. I will continue until then. And I told him to start making more calls from this friend. I make 100 calls a day, I remarked. My ear is a little black, and I have a callus there. Even though you can't see it, it exists. His sales have gone up. He is exerting more effort at this moment. The other is that you have to be tenacious if you want something. You must develop your resourcefulness. You must develop your creative abilities. In Chinese, crises indicate opportunity as well as danger when they arise in one's life. Additionally, this is a chance for you to develop. And you have to be so persistent that you're constantly searching for a method to overcome obstacles and make progress, no matter what comes your way. Never stop searching for a method to succeed, always trying to find a way to deliver a devastating blow. And very shortly after, I believe there are some observers in the cosmos who say, wait, let's call a meeting over here. Do you recognize Mustafa? Have a look at him below. He is not going to quit. That idiot simply isn't aware that he can't go on. Look at this, look at this. Could we please do this? Let him leave so we may sabotage someone else. Simply allow him to go. Sometimes life will simply get weary of beating you and say, let's just let this one go. This is what I think. I just continued on kicking, even though no one has told me this before. I lacked the common sense to quit. I was uneducated in an intelligent way. I tried everything because I had no idea what I couldn't do. The interesting thing about life is that because you are destined to die in it, you might as well enjoy yourself while you are here. Lead a passionate and motivated life. During a seminar I was giving the other day, I mentioned that I was going to teach some young kids in August and take about 100 of them to a 2 or 3 day camp, basically wiping them out. Been putting effort into this. One of the parents approached me after the speech and said, Mr. Brown, I'd like you to do something for my son. He lacks motivation. I wonder why, I said. What's wrong with him, I wonder? There was absolutely no fire in him. Look, you speak so loudly that people are unable to hear you. Therefore, if you lack fire, you must be careful who you associate with because these individuals will have similar values. People who are constantly depressing and deadpan will have an impact on you. It is desirable to surround yourself with positive, well-groomed people. Last week, I told a gathering that Abraham Lincoln would not have hired God because of his religious beliefs. But the person can't help it, they said. Anybody over 30 is accountable for their appearance, he declared. Your blood pressure is affected if you look at yourself every day in a sad manner. Keep these faces dead from staring at you. It is communicative. It's serious, this. You must therefore pay attention to your posture, your expression, your countenance, and your face. You are psychically affected by all of these things. The type of person you are has to be who you are. People who are fearless tend to leave those who are not. Every dog in the area would bark at a certain person when they would stroll past it. However, certain people come through and nobody is going to tamper with this. You have no limits. You should release your brakes because you are unstoppable and possess power that you haven't even started to utilize. How many of you have ever been pulling out of your driveway when you slammed on the pedal and the car just went, you slammed it hard and it just wouldn't go. You realized later that you had engaged your emergency brakes. It then chews when you remove the emergency brakes. Have you previously had that experience? The majority of us live our lives with the brakes on, holding back, not giving our all, not sharing our whole selves, and most of us die clinging on instead of letting go. What are some of those things that, because of prior hurts, losses, or experiences, prevent us from letting go of them? It didn't work out then, and it probably won't work out now, we think, as we reflect back. Many individuals mistake their performances for who they really are. Indeed, they are. I was reading this comment from Los Angeles Lakers coach Pat Riley, but you're going to enjoy this one as well. How do you feel? They asked him after the Trailblazers had blown them out of the water, and I'm sure he said this last night. We were shown for who we really are tonight, he remarked. You see, it doesn't imply I'm a lousy speaker if my speech tonight falls flat. It indicates that my efforts tonight were ineffective, and I have to keep my identity and my work apart. I also have another opportunity. You see, your life's final chapter hasn't been written yet. Additionally, yesterday's events are irrelevant. The things you've done for which you feel guilty are irrelevant. You would be convicted of an innocent person if you didn't do it now. You've entered a new level of consciousness through rebirth, and we would perform better if we knew better, as they say. You start to think, I won't be turned down. I recall telling someone about it, and they asked if I would say it again. I was considering a career in radio. I was taken in by adoption. That was my main takeaway. My goal was to win my mother's approval. I was really grateful for everything she had done for my sister, brother, and me. That was my escape route. I approached a man at a radio station, inquired about it, and expressed my desire to become a broadcaster. He glanced at me wearing overalls and a straw hat. Do you have any experience with broadcasting? He asked. No, sir, I don't, I said. How do you proceed? I mowed the lawn. I was asked what kind of labor I do when I work on garbage trucks by young females. I introduced myself as a sanitary technician. We don't have any work for you, he said. I made up my mind to go ahead and accomplish that. I'm unstoppable, I decided. I'm going to enter here and carry out this action. I started making relationships with the people who were pursuing my goals at the radio station by coming there every day. And I strongly advise you to take that action. In the field you choose, locate others who are following your desired path and cultivate a rapport with them. I wrote letters to all of the heavyweights in this field, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Zig Ziglar, Dennis Waitley, when I made the decision to come here. And I replied, I want to do this. I've been keeping up with your work. Could you please assist me? In addition to responding to my letter, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale wrote an article on me, including a chapter about me in his most current book, and did numerous broadcasts about me. Building rapport and a relationship with those who were accomplishing my desired goals was something I had hoped to do. In a similar vein, I would frequent the radio station where I got to know the guys and became their go-to person for food deliveries and picking up visiting performers. Singing of temptation, my dear. Singing for your darling love is Jerry Butler. I love you so much, sweetie. Sam Cooke singing. I would drive the disc jockeys' large Cadillacs around and pick up the performers from the airport. I was acting as though I had a driver's license, even though they didn't, each and every day. I used to go home and work on improving my self-awareness and communication abilities. Whitney Young was the one. According to him, it's preferable to be ready for an opportunity and not have one than to have one and not be ready for it. As you anticipate achieving your goals, begin working on your personal development and getting ready for what it is you desire. And I would go in the control room and watch the disc jockeys to build up my trust, and they would allow me stay so I could watch and see how they operated the controls. Don't stress about how you're going to get what you want out of life. How come it's none of your concern? Holding the vision is the most challenging aspect of the task. And there I was listening to the radio. While on the radio, a man began drinking under the name Rock. I was watching and observing him from outside the window, ready and hungry. Drake Sand, Drake Rock. Before long, the phone rang. A general manager was involved. I greeted them. Les, this is Mr. Klein, he said. I acknowledged that. Rock can't finish his program, he remarked. His speech is slurred. I acknowledge that. Can you use the controls till another disc jockey enters the room? Would you give them a call? Yes, sir, I said. I ended the call. Now he must be thinking I'm insane, I said. My girlfriend Cassandra told me to come out on the front porch and turn up the radio when I called my mother. I'm going to go live soon. I gave it 15 minutes or so. I gave him a call back. I couldn't find anybody, Mr. Klein, I said. Why don't you go in there and operate the controls till they understand this and don't say anything here, he asked. Yes, sir, I said. Mustafa, I was so excited to get down at that turntable. I declared, watch out, this is me, Les Brown, LB Triple P, your platter plan, Papa. None existed prior to me, and none will exist following my departure. As a result, I am the one and only young, single, and in love with Domingo. I am also duly qualified to provide you with plenty of action and satisfaction. I'm your love, darling, so watch out. I was starving, man. You have got to be hungry, I remarked, shaking someone's hand on both your right and left. I'll tell you something else, though. In order to accomplish your goals, you must be tenacious. I cannot say what this power is, stated Alexander Graham Bell. All I know is that it exists and that it is only made available to a man or woman who is in that mental state where they are certain of what they want and are willing to keep going until they have it. How many times will your baby try to walk when they are still learning? How many times will you tell them to just sit down and stop trying? You've had 20 falls. Simply take a seat someplace, sticking out your tongue and bothering people. Can a baby learn to walk? When it walks, it will walk. It will start to walk then. Les, when are you going to become the country's motivational leader? When I'm known, others will know me. It's when people will know me. Avoid getting sucked into the excuse that, well, I've done that 4 or 5 times and it didn't work. When you have a strong desire for anything, you must do whatever it takes to get it. Even if you give it your all, it won't be enough. You still need to fulfill your obligations and never give up on yourself. Hold off on tossing in the towel just yet. Many people give up at the 1-yard line, but if they were determined enough, they would just keep knocking. Life has a humorous side. When someone knocks on your door while you're at home, you can tell them, I don't want to be bothered today, yet they will still knock. It's unbelievable that the idiot is still knocking. You'll probably ask, what is it soon? What are your desires? And that's how your dream needs to be approached. Dear friends, always remember that longing and perseverance are the keys to success. Every time you face difficulties and feel like giving up, remember why you started. Remember the dreams and goals you're pursuing. That's what drives you to get up and move on. There is no road to success without obstacles. But every challenge you overcome, every time you rise up after failure, you not only get closer to your goal, you become stronger. Let the longing for success burn forever in your heart and never give up. Believe that you have the strength and ability to do whatever you desire. Live with unceasing longing. Fight with untiring perseverance. You may fail, but don't let it stop you. Make every failure a lesson, every challenge a chance to grow. Let's start right now. Keep the flame of desire burning and never give up. Live every day with the determination and belief that you can and will do everything you want. You can do it and you will. Be persevering and never give up.